So what I'd like to do is to go ahead and set the stage. Before we actually get into the actual demo of the application, let's talk about the story we're going to show today. It makes a bit more sense to show really the day in the life of processing a case in the ArkCase application. Especially for those that will be utilized in this application, you want to kind of see how the story plays out. So we're going to actually show case management, but it's going to be handling an actual customer complaint. ArkCase utilizes an actual user interface that allows you to submit complaints from many different types of sources. So whether you're receiving complaints from a portal, email, or simply a phone call, a case can be generated automatically or manually based on your business requirements. Here is the high-level workflow that we're going to show today. Toby is going to be the person that is going to report a customer service issue with the organization. Once the complaint or case is created, we're going to have Owen from our services organization examine, triage the initial case. Once Owen triages the information, he's going to assign the case to an analyst, Ann Smith, that will do further triage and collaboration and ultimately offer a resolution to the customer. We'll spend quite a bit of time going through some of the day-to-day things that can be done on, say, documents, workflows, or tasks, or even finding for information by searching or looking at reports. With that said, let's jump into the demo of the system. All right, so let's go ahead and navigate over to the customer portal. So this is the ArkCase customer portal. Users can do a lot of things directly on the portal, but the first thing is that there is a registration process in the event that the organization wants users to register and create an account. If they hit the registration button down below, this will walk them through a step-by-step process to create an account. Once the customer has an account directly on the portal, they can log in and then they're given access to many different types of things. They can generate a new complaint or case with the organization. If they have existing complaints or cases with the organization, they can see a status update in terms of where that complaint is within the workflow. But let's go ahead and generate a new complaint. So when the user clicks on the new complaint, there is a custom web form that appears. This is a completely customizable web portal so that the organization can modify the content. They can add different metadata pieces to really capture all the information in relation to the complaint. So let's go through the processing of this form. So the very first thing that the user would do is select the complaint category since it's a required field. They can select essentially maybe a method of communication in terms of delivery, right? And so multiple ways in terms of how a customer can communicate with different individuals within the organization. Section 2 on the form is the profile information about the customer. So this is the information that the customer used to register to create an account. If any of this information is outdated, the customer can go back into their profile and they can update their contact information, their phone number, their email address if it's outdated. Section 3 on the form is the information about the complaint. So maybe this is a customer complaint that for benefits, right? And so my benefits were denied, right? And so the description blocks allows the customer to put in as much information into the complaint so that it allows the organizations to be able to quickly triage and understand what the complaint is about. We also support the capability of adding supporting information. So any customer can add different pieces of information. It could be, say, for example, maybe the benefits package, maybe the information that they got from the vendor, right? And so all of this information can be attached. They can validate and view that information as needed. Once the form is essentially filled out, the next is what we call preview complaint information dialog box. This allows the customers just to validate all the information they entered on the form. Their phone number, the information about their description, the title, right? But essentially once the form is verified, they can then go ahead and submit this complaint or case over to the organization. A few things are happening at this point. One is that a complaint or a case is getting generated within the ArkCase application. And second is a correspondence template is being delivered back to the customer just to validate that they've created a case, giving them the case number, when the complaint was created, just for their records. All right. All right, so now we're going to transition over to the internal application, and this is where the internal users of the system are going to manage all the complaints and cases that are received by the organization. Users interface with ArkCase simply through any of the major browsers out in the market, and so they just essentially navigate to the ArkCase platform. There's multiple ways that we support and allow users to authenticate into the application. They can type in their username and password. We support single sign-on capabilities if the organization wants to enable or configure that within the system. Once the user logs into the system, before we get into the use case in processing this complainer case, I just want to kind of start off by giving you a holistic view of the system. On the left-hand side, we have all the different modules within the system, including the dashboard, which is essentially the landing page of the application. We actually use widgets within our dashboard that allows users to actually view different pieces of information directly from their dashboard. They can see cases that they have access to see or that they're assigned to. If they have tasks associated to different complaints in terms of collaboration, they'll be able to see many different tasks. We also have reporting widgets that allow users to actually view different types of reports, how many cases are open and closed, what type of cases they are, right? All of these different widgets are configurable within our application, so you can actually enable many different types of widgets directly in the platform. At the top, we have our global new, which allows us to create a manual case, a task or person, and then associate those different objects to a particular case or a complaint. We also have our simple search, which ultimately leads to our advanced search module that will allow users to search the entire application, whether it's metadata information related to a case or complaint or a particular document within the system. We OCR and index all of that content and make that searchable directly within our platform. Okay, so I'm logged in as Owen Jones. Let's get into the use case. So when I go ahead and click on the particular case directly on the dashboard, you'll notice that it actually navigates me out to the initial complaint or the case. Directly from the complaint that I'm viewing, you'll notice that I have access to see a lot of different pieces of information. I can see the details. I can see the initiator, meaning who was the customer that created the complaint. If there were documents that were attached to this or emails that were sent out by the system, I have information about all of those pieces of content that's in there. I also have case summary notes where I can see exactly where this is in the current stage of the process, right? And so I can add many different notes and tasks directly into the complainer case. So Owen's going to go ahead and he's going to go ahead and validate all their information. So when Owen actually expands a particular complaint, you'll notice there's a tree level of metadata information that's attached to every complaint and case within our application. You can see the details. I can jump into, say, for example, Toby Anderson's information. And in the event that I need to speak with Toby, again, another tree level of information, but I can see phone numbers, I can see email addresses. A lot of information can be viewed. So let's go ahead and do the initial triage for this new case or complaint. So the very first thing that Owen may do is he may actually come in and look at some of the documents that were sent by Toby as part of the creation of the case. He can come down and see any of the supporting documents. He can open up and view that information. Maybe there are certain pieces of information that will help Toby make a decision. So he can actually open up a particular document in the ArkCase viewer, and the ArkCase viewer will allow them to view the contents of that information. We also keep the file association to every single document that's imported. So if the user prefers to open a particular document in the native Adobe application, they can also launch a particular document in Adobe to view that content directly within a PDF viewer. So a lot of things can be reviewed based on Owen's responsibilities and tasks. He may go out and need to get additional content. And so we do have the capability directly out of the box to send emails directly from a case. And so I can go in and I can set up a particular email reference to Toby, add him as a recipient, say, "Hi Toby, can you please send us the benefits information that is missing?" All right. Thank you. And so once this email is essentially sent out, Toby will get an email directly from the customer service analyst, Owen, saying that, they're looking for additional content, right? All the emails that are delivered directly from the ArkCase system is archived in the outgoing folder, so users can actually see a history of all the different emails that have been sent directly from the application. And you have complete flexibility in controlling, what you view from a title perspective directly from the ArkCase viewer. Once Toby gets that information, Toby can actually reply directly to that email. And once that attachment comes in, the benefits package can be updated into the supporting documentation. So now, Owen has a lot of information. He's ready to actually move this through the process. Owen can actually assign this case to many different individuals to make a decision on the case. So, we're going to go ahead and assign this case to Ann Smith. And we're going to actually have Ann go out and say, for example, we're going to go ahead and assign this case to Ann Smith to really, review the information, to do more analysis, and maybe make a decision in terms of what needs to occur with this essential case that was created. All right, so now since we assigned it to Ann, we're going to go ahead and log out of the system as Owen, and I'm going to actually log into the system as essentially Ann Smith, who is essentially the analyst or essentially a supervisor that can make a decision on this particular case. Once I log in with Ann Smith, you'll notice that there's a big difference in terms of the interface, in terms of what Owen and Ann have the capability. The reason why I wanted to show Owen is I wanted to show the roles-based access controls within our application, that we have the capability of controlling many different capabilities based on a particular user or group of users within the system. You'll notice that when I logged in with Ann Smith, all the modules in terms of what she has the capability of doing is a lot different, as well as all the information within the system in terms of data. Ann will have a different set of information, whether it's cases, complaints, it could be tasks that are associated. And so a lot of this information can be controlled through our roles-based access controls. Once Ann actually opens up the individual case, she can go in and see the customer complaint. She can see all the notes that was done by Owen, and so she can add an additional note, reviewing additional content for resolution, right? And so she can put in many different types of different notes. The notes notification also serves as essentially notifications as well. So if she wanted to send essentially Owen a note and saying, got it, reviewing now, the system will automatically send Owen all of that case information as well as an email, including the information that she put in as a note. Ann can go in, she can review all the supporting documentation, she can select many different evidence, she can open up the documents and open this up in a document viewer so that she can review the content. And so I showed you the ArkCase viewer, but the ArkCase viewer has a lot of different capabilities from a functional standpoint. Users can navigate through the many different pages of the document itself. You'll notice on the right hand side is that we keep many different versions of the document. So in the event that Ann needs to modify this document as part of her triage, anytime she makes a change, we'll create a new version, always keeping the original version intact. We also have a lot of editing capabilities directly within our viewer. So essentially Ann can come in and she can put in an annotation on a particular document saying, hey, I've reviewed it, right? She can change the font colors and different features of the annotation. We also support many different types of redaction. So maybe she needs to redact a particular area or search for different keywords based on expressions within the document. And so the application will highlight that information and she can determine if she wants to redact all matches or essentially maybe she wants to only redact one of the two, right? So really depending on the features and functionalities of what she's doing, the application can support all different capabilities. Once a document has been completely reviewed, Ann can then go ahead and save, and she can burn in the annotations. And what the viewer will do is that it will take all the annotations and create a new version um, embedding the annotations as well as any of the redactions directly into the file. So once the new version is created, the application will automatically open up that version, allowing Anne to see all the different edits that she made inside of the document. And here you can see all the different versions that were created directly within the system. There's a lot of things that can be done from a document perspective. Anne might need to go back to the benefits organization and collaborate with many different individuals. She may actually want to create a new task in relation to this document and assign it to essentially the benefits review team, right? And so she can assign a task to a particular individual, or she can assign a task to a group of different users within that department. And so if she assigns the task to John, saying, can you please review and give feedback, right? She can put a start date, a due date behind a particular task within the system. She can run essentially many different types of business processes based on the requirement of this workflow. So if she wants to run it through a document review process and have multiple people validate, well, you can build many different processes within the application, and then you can select which documents or cases or complaints follow a particular workflow. Once the task is essentially created, this will assign a task to John. John will go in, he'll review that information, and he will basically reply back to Anne that all the information is complete. Okay, so let's go ahead and move this case through the rest of the workflow. The next step in the process is for Anne to actually go back to Toby and communicate any type of final decision or responses from the organization in relation to the case or complaint. This can happen in multiple ways. One method is what we call correspondence templates. ArkCase includes an out-of-the-box correspondence management system that allows the organizations to create predefined templates based on most common responses. If you right-click on a particular folder, you'll notice that if you browse up to new correspondences, you'll see different types of correspondence templates that Anne has the capability of using within the process. She can click on, say for example, customer complaint response. Once the response is actually created within the case, Anne can then go ahead and she can open this template up in Microsoft Word, giving her the capability of seeing the communication. She can say, for example, make any edits. So if she wanted to add and say, we will refund price, she can make any edits to the correspondence template. We also have the capability of auto-populating the correspondence template with any metadata information related that's part of the case. So we can gather the date, we can gather their contact information. We have over 10,000 different metadata terms that can be added as part of the correspondence template. Once Anne is happy with the correspondence template, she can then go ahead and save this template, and it will essentially update the template directly within the ArkCase platform. The other method that Anne can essentially communicate with the customer is through the embedded send to email functionality. We have the capability, as I showed before, is that users have the capability of sending emails to multiple different individuals, but we also have templates that can be generated based on certain responses. So if there's commonly used emails, the organization can create predefined essentially templates that users have the capability of using as they kind of begin or work through the workflow. Once they add the template, they can then go ahead and enter the recipient's email address down below. And once the recipients are added, the application will send an email directly to those individuals, providing all the information as part of the case. Once the customer receives the email or the correspondence template, you can actually then make a decision and determination on the next steps of the case. So if the customer comes back, they accept all the terms of the resolution, we can then go ahead and close the case out or escalate this case to a supervisor for further review. Let's go ahead and close the case out. At the top, you'll notice that there's a change case status. User can actually click on the change case status here, and they can see a drop down. So they can then set the status to close. Maybe it was a full resolution to the original complaint, and Anne can actually type in her information so that she's actually approving this case to be closed. She can put any details into the description for case closure, and this will mark essentially this case officially closed at this point. We also have the capability within the application to run a particular case closure through a workflow. So say, for example, a supervisor needs to kind of approve the case to be closed. Well, essentially, we can create a task and assign it to a supervisor, and they can come in and then they can review all of the information as part of the case. They can go through the parent documents. They can, go through the details of the case, all the information that's really added, into the case details. Once the supervisor approves the case to be closed, this will officially close out the case. Again, this is an optional step. Most organizations don't need, if you don't have an approval process, you don't need to run through this step. But essentially, this is a different option in terms of the workflow capabilities directly within the ArkCase platform. Okay. All right. So now, we showed how a customer complaint was sent in through a customer portal. We went through initial triage with Owen, and we assigned the case to Ann Smith. Ann actually approved a resolution. She communicated back to the customer. The customer accepted the resolution details, and we've actually closed the case out. There's a lot of other features directly within the ArkCase platform from a reporting perspective as well. We have over 30 different types of different reports directly out of the box. We can do case summaries, complaint disposition counts, but essentially, you can use any of the different case reports within the system to really show and reflect how the organization is processing on a particular case. This is just a very quick case summary within the application that will show you essentially all the different cases and their current statuses. But essentially, there are a lot of different methods in terms of being able to run different types of reports. We also have an ad hoc report module that will allow the organization to create customized reports. If you're very experienced with Power BI or other reporting applications, Pentalho is an application that will allow you to create many different types of reports. You can create bar charts, you can create leading product lines, you can do heat maps. Tons of different metadata information can be combined from different data sources to actually generate a very sophisticated report directly within the application. And then finally, the admin settings is really the brains of the application. This allows you to control all the roles-based access controls, configure how users are synced from Active Directory. You can actually determine which reports are configured or have roles-based access controls in terms of who has access to run certain types of reports. We also have the capability directly within the system is to change all the labels out of the box. So essentially, if there's a particular label within the system, for example, if we wanted to take complaint and convert that to essentially cases, we can do that. So I can actually navigate over and I can say, well, these are all the cases directly in the system. Once I actually make that change, the label within the complaint module will change to cases. And so you have complete control over all the labels within the system. We also give you access to add different types of metadata fields and drop downs directly within the application. You can we also give you access to modify all the drop downs directly in the application. So if there's different complaint types or persons types or statuses, you can modify that directly within the system as well. All right, so if there's any questions in terms of the presentation today, please feel free to reach out to a sales member at ArkCase.com. Thank you and have a great day.